Hello and welcome to Save the Environment program with me, your host, Womba Hoyeke. As you may be aware, Zambia, like many other countries, has been hit by effects of climate change. It is against this background that we decided to come up with a program dubbed Save the Environment. So today we are joined in the studio by WWF Energy Lead, Mr. Michael Sakala, who is going to help us discuss or understand what Earth Hour is all about. WWF will be observing Earth Hour tomorrow from 20:30 to 21:30 hours. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you so much, and good day, viewers.
Thank you. So, Mr. Sakala, what is this Earth Hour all about? I'm sure the viewers out there would love to know.
Yes, for sure, yeah. So this is a day that has been set aside by the world over, but this initiative started with the WWF Australia in 2007. So they thought of us having a moment where we just reflect and look at the effects of climate change, and also to look at how we can bring awareness to everybody, to look at the steps, action points that all of us can do to make sure that we mitigate the impacts of climate change. So from 2007 now, this moved to the whole world. So WWF worldwide is now looking at observing this, of course, inviting other cooperating partners to join hands so that we look at how we can fight climate change and also we bring sensitization so that we save the earth, which is our home.
Okay, so what activities has WWF put in place as you are observing this Earth Hour?
Well, though this is just for a short time, like we're saying, it's just for 1 hour, but this is a moment where we just get ourselves into thoughts and reflection. We look at what things we're not doing right and what things we should do right going forward to look at saving the climate, the world in terms of the impacts of climate change. So for example, on that day, first of all, we bring awareness of the things that are affecting us. So like in Zambia, we know the #1 problem is climate change. Load shedding. So if we talk about load shedding, then we know what all of us can look at doing. Maybe promoting more renewable energy, and these are some of the programs that WWF has been involved in. So we work closely with others like a government to make sure that we influence policies that will now look at unlocking opportunities to have, let's say, more solar plants and more people are investing in solar technology.
Okay, so what are the main objectives of Earth Hour? And how does it contribute to global environment efforts as regards to climate change?
So there are 3 objectives for the Earth Hour. #1 is awareness. So we want people to be aware of the challenges and what we can do. In fact, even taking stock of the situation now, what is happening with the world over. We've heard of issues like Paris agreements. How are we doing in terms of mitigating the temperature increases? We're trying to reduce those global warming figures by less than 1.5 degrees. Yeah, so that's #1. #2, we also want to remind ourselves of energy efficiency measures. Yeah, I'm sure you believe this, Womba, that if you are moving around, when there's power, in most of these communities, daytime you see a lot of bulbs outside which are still lit. And the Ministry of Energy is quite concerned because they tried to analyze the figures and they found that maybe that can account to about 65 megawatts of power. So imagine wasting water in Kariba, the water that we need to actually help us have more power and reduce load shedding. So it's a call to remind all of us to make sure that we control and we get involved in energy efficiency measures individually. We're not talking about the government or companies. How can all of us get involved? So we can do that. Yeah, and also we want to promote sustainability. That's the 3rd one. So sustainability, my thoughts go straight to the use of charcoal. Yeah, we've seen that Zambia has been ranked amongst the heaviest users of charcoal. So how can we all look at sustainability? So we'll see this strong nexus between load shedding especially and using charcoal. But let's say if all of us looked at turning to, let's say, LPG or gas use, we'll see that we'll first of all lessen the strain that we have on the forests and also Kariba, because we want the reversal of the impacts of climate change, which are affecting now the rain patterns. So we can also all get involved to make sure that our very little steps contribute to this global effort to look at the mitigation of the climate change.
Okay. So how can individuals and communities participate in the Earth Hour and make a meaningful contribution to environmental conservation?
Yeah. So like I said, the #1 step is awareness. On that actual day, all of us can be can set this time aside. I know there's load shedding, but in some areas, we can still look at just having those deep thoughts about what is happening with our home, which is called Earth. What can we do to make sure that we're involved? Yeah, in the communities, we've seen many people trying to come out and get involved in activities like planting of trees. That's very important. I was making this joke that in Uganda, if a man wants to marry, they have to ask him if he's planted a tree before. He has to demonstrate that he's planted a tree before. So they place this importance, yes, on trees, because we know that trees mean life. We want to look at how we can have rain patterns that are not disturbed because of climate change. Yeah, so there are a lot of efforts where we can get involved. As ESCO has been promoting the program called Switch and Save. So all these are some of the efforts that all of us can look at, getting involved in, so that at this very, very basic step, we are looking at how we can collectively win against this battle of the climate change impact. So,
Mr. Sakala, considering the fact that Earth Hour focuses on energy conservation as demonstrated in the 60 minutes lights of moment, what do we have to do as a country to reduce carbon footprint?
Yeah, so we've been hit many times. The frequency of especially droughts has increased in the past 10 years, and it's a worry to all of us. So this now calls for a collective effort. When I say collective now, we're also including the policymakers, the government. So we've looked at supporting the government. WWF has been instrumental to support programs such as the Integrated Resource Plan, which was actually launched last year. Recently, we've seen the launch of Open Access, which has also given birth to net metering, where people can have a big solar plant on their rooftop. The excess, they sell to ZESCO. So these efforts are quite what we need to make sure that we're quite resilient in terms of the situation that we're going through. Yeah, so it's quite a collective measure, and we're not where we want to be because we don't know what other impacts we're going to have from climate change. We might have more droughts. We don't know. It's unpredictable. But we can always control the efforts now to make sure that we have the right energy mix that we need. So we need to see more solar plants. We need to see more people get involved. Those can afford to invest in solar systems.
Okay. So riding on the previous question, is Zambia on the correct path in promoting renewable energy resources?
Yes. At the moment, we've seen a lot of effort. Policy-wise, we've seen, I think, the enabling environment being created. Like I talked about in the Integrated Resource Plan, that's looking at a 30-year plan. We also have the Open Access now that is now going to help more investors to find it easy to invest in Zambia. So we're in the right path. All we need now is more support, especially in terms of luring more investment. More financiers can come on board, the banks and others, to make sure that they invest in renewable energy. It's a new thing for us. We're still learning, but we need to continue on this trajectory to make sure that we win in the end and we have the right mix that we need.
Okay. So how does WWF work with government and other businesses to promote sustainable energy policies and practices?
Yeah, we were doing the best. Like I said, personally as WWF, the energy sector, we've looked at partnering with the Ministry of Energy. Then we've looked at forming what we're calling the annual joint work plans. So we look at their needs, their gaps, and we look at supporting those activities. So it could be capacity building, it could be formulation of policies. We've been trying to support as much as possible to make sure that these things are implemented. And also research. We're involved in research. Right now, we supported the paper on floating solar on Kariba, which is being undertaken by the Zambia River Authority. So that has now been adopted, and we're happy that a bank is willing to fund the pre-feasibility studies. So that step now will make us to see how we can be offering solutions through working with the government and also the other organizations. Then at the moment, we're also trying to support the new technology to look at pump storage. So unlike just constructing the ordinary power stations, hydro power stations, we want to see how we can have pump storage. So this is a design that has two reservoirs. Daytime, you're able to pump up. In the evening, you recycle that water. So going forward, because of these very severe impacts that we're seeing from load shedding, we want to be more resilient. So how can we now be ahead and also look at research like the developed countries. So we want to be more ahead, more abreast, more prepared to actually fight climate change through such ventures as energy security for the nation.
Okay. So what are some of the most pressing environmental issues that WWF is working to address, and how can an individual get involved?
Yeah, there are a lot of programs, especially planting of trees. Yeah, to always think that a tree is important to help us fight climate change, we sometimes forget. But if we go back to primary school, when we're learning about photosynthesis, we now realize the importance of a tree. And how are we doing? We're not doing so well. I think to be losing about 250,000 hectares of forest cover annually is quite a sorry sight for Zambia. And the question is, the moment we are using especially charcoal, we have to ask ourselves the question, are we planting any trees? Are we seeing more trees being planted than being cut down? Yeah, so this is why the Earth Hour is that reminder that we need. We always have to remind ourselves of what we're doing wrong, and we look at getting involved. Yeah, sometimes if you have that bag of charcoal in your house, you might think that it's just me. But if you see the truckloads, the market points, I think it's a starting point for us. It's always the small things that matter, the little steps that matter. Even a 1 million kwacha starts with a 1 kwacha. So the little steps should not be overlooked. We need to see how we can all contribute through our small efforts to change the mindset, to look at what things we can do to look at conservation of nature that will now give us the benefits that we need. We're fighting nature by cutting trees, so nature is also now giving us the fruits of our actions. So if we see wrong things continuing, then we need to check ourselves and say, what can we do better to save the environment?
All right. Mr. Sakala, you have been talking about planting trees. Are you planting those trees here in Lusaka or even in the rural areas out there?
That's a very good question, yeah. So we identify areas that need replanting of trees. So through other stakeholders and other cooperating partners, we have a lead who is always looking at those collaborations. So we are mostly planting, of course, in the rural areas. It's good that now we also have other programs like carbon credits that are now looking at motivating the rural communities to get a motivation in terms of the maybe monetary benefits from what they're doing. Yeah, because we do not want to take away maybe their source of income through charcoal burning. But how can we now replace that loss of income with more benefits? So we're seeing more benefits because we want to see more trees being planted and cut. But the rural communities also be provided with the support that they need in terms of the income, so that they can keep on taking care of their families and also the environment.
Okay, you've mentioned that you have areas that you select where you go to plant trees.
Yes.
Do you have a certain criteria that you follow?
Yes.
In selecting these places?
Yes, as the WWF and also Advancing Technology, we've been using a lot of tools like the GIS tools that are now looking at mapping the country. So if you look at the country, they will look at the areas that are the most hit, and we target those areas. So those areas could be, of course, in areas of high importance. So you can say maybe river banks, because we also do not want to disturb the state of the flow of the rivers. So you don't want, especially erosion, that will now cause, the siltation to happen in the rivers. Yeah, so such areas are of quite high importance to make sure that we mitigate the loss of, those forest covers. Or some areas that look like they are forming a desert. So you want to quickly go there and start planting the trees. But we have a map that has been completed that's now looking at the state of the country in terms of the loss of forest covers.
Okay, so what about the areas that we have been hearing, that we've been reading in newspapers, where there's too much deforestation, like maybe Northwestern Province, Central Province? Have you been to those areas to ascertain if you can plant trees in those areas?
So what's very good is I'm wearing a shirt which is called Afri 100. So this is a program formulated for Africa, and it's looking at planting 100 million hectares of land. So it means now you focus on trying to replant trees in this kind of area. So Zambia is not spared in terms of the target. So working with other collaborating partners, even the government, through the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, we've looked at what is our target for Zambia. So it's a national assessment. So the focus is to look at our state. What is our status now? And what can we do now to make sure that we start replanting the trees? And I think our focus should be about 1 million to 2.5 million hectares to be replanted in Zambia. So I think this program will help to look at capacity, of course, and also how we can look at the approach, the methodology now to make sure that we plant these trees.
Okay, do you have a deliberate policy to address these issues of deforestation?
Yes. I think, like we said, we cannot do this alone. We need the buy-in from the government. We need the buy-in and also other stakeholders jumping on board. We also need resources through different donors and financiers. Yeah, so we're doing this collaboratively, and I think we're on the right path in terms of making sure that this approach is undertaken.
So, would you share some success stories of conservation efforts that have made a positive impact on the environment?
Yeah, quite a lot. Of course, these efforts are small, but we know that through the different programs that WWF has, we've been able to look at supporting a number of programs. So WWF is looking at, of course, forests. We're looking at wildlife, we're looking at fresh water, we're looking at energy. Yeah, so collectively I think we've been trying to work with the government to look at what efforts we can make to make sure that the impacts are seen. For example, I'll talk about one simple environmental monitoring tool that has been introduced in most of the communities. So there's what we call the citizen science that has empowered locals to make sure that they keep on assessing and testing the quality of the water from the rivers in their areas. Yeah, so this has made a very nice, program that everyone is appreciating, even warmer, because these reports are sent to them to analyze how we are preserving the nature. Yeah. Then also through our collaborations, we've been trying to collaborate. We've collaborated with different stakeholders like DDNPW to look at the protection of wildlife, and of course forests. We're trying to look at how we can keep on looking at the programs to replant trees.
Okay, what about the Zambezi project that you are doing with Stanbic Bank? How many trees have you planted so far?
So we need to get the figures, but yeah, this program is good because we're looking at the source of the Zambezi River, and we know how this river is important. So we're looking at the source of the water that comes to Kariba, and that's our biggest hydropower plant, which is a 1,080 megawatts. Yeah. So it's an ongoing program. I think you've seen many other stakeholders jumping on board. Other banks have come on board. Other private stakeholders have come on board. So it's an ongoing program that's now looking at restoration. And restoration efforts are not done overnight. Of course, you need to look at the magnitude of the program that we're undertaking. Yes.
As we come to the end of the program, I just wanted you to say your last words concerning the Earth Hour that you'll be observing tomorrow. Many people might not know about it and they would want more information. Yeah,
so for those who are in Lusaka, the Earth Hour will be commemorated tomorrow, and it's going to be at Pamozi Hotel. So the time is 18 hours. Of course, the actual switch off is from 20:30 to 21:30. Yeah, so why this day is very important, it's coincidentally, I think, falling on a day when World Water Day will be commemorated. And, I mean, we've seen the importance of water because we've faced, again, a very severe drought. So it's the realization of the nexus between energy and water. No power also affects some water plants. So it affects our water supply. And also lack of water affects hydropower generation here. So this day should be a reflection of sincerity in terms of what we can do, the steps we can take individually to make sure that we start changing the narrative in terms of our cause to fight climate change as Zambia.
Well, viewers, we have come to the end of the program. I had in the studio Mr. Michael Sakala, who's the WWF Energy Lead. who are discussing the Earth Hour that will be observed tomorrow from 20:30 to 21:30 hours. From me and the entire production team, this has been Womba Woyeke. It's bye-bye and pleasant viewing.